everybody, here we are at the end of summer, even though temperatures and home prices are still high. Prices are hovering toward an all-time high here locally in Indianapolis, but we are seeing some strange things happen in the market. Today I want to do a quick video to take a look at the summer market and what we are seeing as we head toward fall. So let's get started. So here I have the median price sold by month for the last few years, and you can see these last 3 months we have consistently stayed at our all-time high record of 300,000. There are a few reasons for this. One, as you can see here, the inventory still remains relatively low. We are definitely down from the peak that we saw at the end of 2022, and now are hovering about a little over 1,000 homes short of where we were at the end of last year. We're only looking at about a little under a month and a half of inventory available in the single family market. And just as a reminder, a balanced market is 6 months of inventory, according to the National Association of Realtors. So we're still way off where we need to be for what would be considered a balanced market. You can see this is also reflected in the amount of sales we've seen. We're up from a very anemic January compared to January of last year. But you can see, even though we've had an increase, that sales are starting to decline again. Now, this is typical for this time of year. Typically after June, we do see sales start to fall off. You can see here some summers are a little more dramatic than others, but at least in the last 3 of the 4 years, we have seen sales start to decrease after June. Typically, with lower inventory, we start to see prices push up. But we're not seeing prices increase, and that's mostly because there are fewer buyers in the market due to interest rates also increasing. We're looking at rates at about 7.5% for your typical owner-occupant right now. We're also seeing that prices decrease, which is what happens when you see buyers drop out of the market. So I think that's why we're seeing prices kind of stall out for the moment. Larger sales of new construction are also helping to keep prices higher, even though we are seeing fewer sales overall. As I said in last month's video, we are still seeing a large amount of new construction homes hit the market. Currently, there are roughly about 800 spec homes that are available that we know of, and probably an additional 100 to 200 homes that are currently in the process of being built. This represents about a quarter of available inventory. So the sales of these new construction homes do make a big impact to the market as a whole, even bigger impact to some smaller submarkets, because we're just not seeing the movement on existing homes like we typically do. Just to underscore this fact, I put together a look at the showing activity over the last 3 months, and you can see pretty much since the beginning of August, we've seen showings drop significantly. Again, back to school does have a lot to do with that and your typical seasonality, but obviously rising interest rates are also a factor here. Today, we're up about 5% on year to date on our median home price, which doesn't sound like much considering the last 2 years we've seen double figure price appreciation. But I'm going to keep beating that drum saying, remember, in Indiana, our typical price appreciation is 3 to 4% year over year. So we're still above that. So let's take a look at some of these submarkets in the area. Now, just a reminder, we typically look at the submarkets based on school districts. So this is a list of school districts, not specific cities or towns. But you are going to see a lot of the same places if you go back and look at my previous market review videos. Here again, we have Brownsburg, Carmel, Hamilton Southeastern, which is Fisher's area, and Zionsville kind of leading the list. All these areas continue to thrive very well in this market. The kind of maybe a little bit surprise on this list is IPS, or Indianapolis Public Schools. Now, this is a very diverse area. They tend to kind of be the bellwether on what's going on in the market. You can see they are up almost 14% year over year. Now, I will say that can be a little bit of a misnomer, because if you look at the price, the pricing is on the lower end in this area, so it does take a little bit less to move the needle in a positive direction. But overall, even though some of these markets are seeing month over month slight declines, I would say these markets are doing very well. On the other hand, here are areas of the city that are seeing declines in the last year. Some of the bigger movers on here, I'm going to attribute to new construction sales, especially Danville and Mount Vernon. These are big new construction areas, and if fewer homes sell, that's obviously going to impact the average sales price. Overall, I am not worried about any of the areas on this list. What we're seeing is since there are fewer sales overall, we are getting this very wild swinging back and forth between pricing month over month, and it can change very rapidly. You can see some of these areas are already rebounding just from the previous month, and a lot of these are even up from June's numbers, meaning even though we look back a year and prices have come down from a year ago, they are still looking to come back up in the short term. So, where do we see things going? What I see going forward is the fact that interest rates are now starting to creep up towards 8%. That does scare off buyers. The Fed is still talking about incrementally raising interest rates, so I would expect interest rates to continue to rise. It's going to be an adjustment, not only for buyers, but for sellers as well, because we're going to see buyers continue to pull out of the market, and sellers are going to have less buyers to sell their homes to. Again, if interest rates, for whatever reason, do start to creep back down, and frankly, we kind of hope they do, it could open things wide back up. But I don't really see that happening, and I think we're going to be at this point now for at least the next few months. Houses are going to not sell as quickly, but typically that's not uncommon for this time of year. We do still see pretty good activity from now up until probably mid to end November, but certainly we're not in the spring market. It's not likely that you will get multiple offers the first day you put your home on the market right now. That doesn't mean it's not going to sell, but I think patience is key, and you do have to listen to what the market is telling you and adjust accordingly. So I hope this information has been useful. If you have any questions, you can contact me through any of my social media channels. My contact info is on the screen right now. Thanks, and talk to you soon.